All right. Hello and welcome to VOP this morning. I'm Esther Wachuku, and of course,
Well, I'm Moses Humphrey. And on wet days like this, time could be nature's victim. But we do sincerely apologize for the late start to the show. Now, this morning, we're tracking two important stories that developed yesterday at the Presidential Election Petitions Court. The first being the clash of factions within the Labour Party and who should make its who should make its representation at the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal. That one was really dramatic. And the second being the President-elect Bola Tinubu. The story has it that he has rejected a request by his challengers for the live transmission of the tribunal's sitting. Well, you may do well to join the conversation here on VOP TV by liking and subscribing and commenting and telling your friends to do same on our YouTube channel. It is Voice of the People TV, and on other social media platforms, VOP TV Live.
now factional national chairman of the Labour Party, Apapa, was nearly lynched on Wednesday after the day's proceedings at the Presidential Election Petitions Court. Now, the day's episodes began when Mr. Apapa arrived at court and confronted the Director General of Peter Obi's Presidential Campaign Council, Akin Oshintoku, at the Presidential Election Petition Court in Abuja. Now, Mr. Oshintoku and other party stalwarts had taken their seats in the gallery in the courtroom when Mr. Apapa and his colleagues accosted the former, demanding that they vacate the seats. Now, Mr. Apapa said he was the legitimate leader of the party who should take the seat. But Mr. Oshintoku would not relinquish his seat, insisting that Mr. Apapa had no right to take the seat. It took the intervention of Josephine Ekberube, Secretary of the Presidential Election Petition Court, to calm down the tense situation between Messrs. Apapa and Oshintoku. Julius Abure, the suspended national chairman of the Labour Party, was caught in a web of leadership dispute with Mr. Apapa, who was earlier suspended by the party. The Federal Capital Territory High Court in Abuja had restrained Mr. Abure from parading himself as the national chairman of the party. The crack within the party has widened since its loss at the presidential election, with its factionalization becoming more pronounced. Joining us is Mothi Abadoni, a lawyer, and of course, Great Imo, a party mobilizer. Mothi, good morning and thank you for joining us today.
Good morning to you as well.
Good morning, viewers.
All right, it was quite a dramatic session yesterday. I don't know if you had seen it. It's actually all over social media, and it was funny because it was quite embarrassing. And this is a very serious situation because the Labour Party is saying that their mandate was stolen, but it obviously looks like the house is not in order. I mean, at what point, at what right did that drama that took place yesterday, what right was it for Apapa to come in and start that ruckus? Was it necessary? Is that part of the court protocol?
Thank you very much. First of all, I have to state very categorical here that what transpired yesterday was disgraceful, was highly embarrassing, and was a disaster. And I am saying this to the leadership of the Labour Party. Managing a party that is now becoming big. The Labour Party is almost becoming the next party after the two most popular parties, and the leadership of this party need to understand that it takes a lot to manage a political party that is gaining a national spread. The Labour Party you have today is no longer the Labour Party of 2, 3, 4 years back. And they need to wake up to that reality that the Labour Party then, who never had a strong presidential candidate, who never had any seat in the National Assembly, who never had any governorship seat. Today we have a Labour Party who has a presidential candidate who came third in the national presidential election. We have a Labour Party that has senators, a Labour Party that has House of Rep members, and a Labour Party that has a governor. So it means late MK Abiola said that the bigger the head, the bigger the headache. So the leadership needs to understand that there's a tax. Because what I see here is more of a failure of leadership. I'm very embarrassed. And I feel that...
When you say a failure of the leadership...
Yes.
But we do know that Apapa was suspended.
Yes.
And then they constituted another committee. Is it that the Labour Party is not structurally ripe for the waters it has dabbled into?
That is a part of it too. Now, when you said Papa was at a point suspended, he went to court. These are all politicking. They are expected. Mm-hmm. You can't, you wouldn't want to be a politician and not expect crisis of this nature. He went to court and he got a judgment. The Federal High Court, Abuja, said that he remains the chairman and Abure should stop parading himself as national. So being that is for the court. But politics is beyond going to court. The leadership must be strong enough to talk to these individuals, to talk to these factions, these groups.
This leadership you're talking about, what is the leadership of?
I'm talking about Peter Obi himself.
Okay.
First of all, he's the leader of the party the way it is. He's their presidential candidate. Is the force that Labour Party has today. Labour Party has always been there now. Who bothers about? But since Obi came into Labour has become a force. So people like Obi, people like Patutomi, these were people who have been in politics for a while. Especially Patutomi has been in some other political parties before now. So you should understand more. And this is one thing I also tell our politicians, that it is not all about sitting down to criticize too. Sometimes you need to understand that politics is very deep. At this point, I'm expecting Obi outside. I'm expecting people like Professor Patutomi, to be able to reconcile these issues before the court. It's politics. If they reconcile within themselves, they can go to court and say, we are no longer interested in any court process. Abure and what's his name? Lamidi Apapa. They are all members of the party.
Yesterday, the court refused to recognize any representative of the Labour Party
because
except
of the chaos. Because of the chaos. Because of the chaos. Because they are unable to put themselves together.
Okay. Now, does the court, constitutionally, does the court have a right to dabble into party politics?
First of all, you have to understand that the court does not take up issues on its own.
Okay.
People bring issues to court. On your radio station on Sunday, I and my friends, we have a regular Sunday show. We discussed the recent court ruling, a federal court ruling against broadcasting.
NBC.
Yes, NBC.
Saying that you do not have.
And some of us were like, I for one was against. I said, what kind of pronouncement is this? If CBN can give licenses to banks and can monitor banks and can also sanction and so many other agencies of government, why do you think that this court pronouncement is like using a sledgehammer to kill an ant? Then a colleague of mine now said, but people bring these issues to court. And that is all the truth. The court will not go and dabble into. The court is not interested in what happens to the Labour Party until Labour Party brings itself to the court. And once issues are before the court has to intervene. Are you getting my point?
Now,
so if the politicians in Labour Party or any other party for that matter learn to behave themselves properly, and if the political leadership, it takes a lot to lead a political. We are going to lead different categories of people from different backgrounds, those from some other political parties, those who have different political ideology. Don't forget also, we live in a climate where most times some of these persons don't even have any political ideology. Those who do have at all, the ideology is different from the one the party has, but because of relevance and some other benefits they intend to gain, they put aside. So I am challenging the leadership of Labour Party to wake up, try these issues, because they must come. Now you are growing, you are becoming a very big party. They must come and you must learn how to address them. who is Apapa, who is Abure that you cannot call together to address.
At the court yesterday, if you had watched the video, you saw that Peter Obi was beside Julius.
Peter Obi is already taking sides.
So it's
that is not also good for him as a leader.
Exactly. So while during the particular press conference, because after this, Lamidi Apapa organized a press conference where he accused some factions of the Labour Party of hiring thugs, to beat him up, and they took his cap because he was asking for his cap. Now, while that was in process, he said that the unfortunate thing about this whole entire scenario is that Peter Obi was there and he saw what transpired and he kept mum. He did not say anything. And so he is also reiterating that if Peter Obi isn't caught to say his mandate was stolen, how comes Ehe is not obeying the court order instituting Lamidi Apapa as the chairman for now? Meaning that Peter Obi is not expecting the court ruling. But then Kenneth Okonkwo has come out to say the court has no right to intervene in any party matters. He actually reeled out most of the laws or the constitution, the Labour Party constitution. So the question is, this dilemma precisely, how can it be resolved? This is already affecting the case in court.
My colleague, what's his name again?
Kenneth Okonkwo.
Kenneth Okonkwo, with due respect, I think he should understand better than this as a lawyer and now becoming a prominent politician. I'll give you another instance. Your domestic affairs in your house, the affairs of husband and wife in the house, are purely supposed to be affairs of husband and wife, purely domestic, purely private affairs. But if your wife or your husband decides to go to court, what happens? The court intervenes. So I've said it has been issued that the court sits down on their own. The court does not force you to bring it, but if you bring your problems to the court will have to intervene. It's quoting the Labour Party's constitution. That is fine. That is fine. That is fantastic. But the Labour Party themselves has brought themselves to court, and the court has to intervene. But I'm saying that in politics, you know why I like politics a lot? And I always like those who have chosen to practice politics, to take all of their time to understand politics. Look, politics is everything. Even the law you are talking about. Who are those that make the law? To a great extent, they are politicians. Which are people making the laws for? The National Assembly members, who are politicians who contest elections to win their seats, to go to Abuja, either to the red chambers or to the green chambers. So politics is superior. And those who practice politics must exhibit a very high level of interest in it.
All right, so as it is now, what is playing out is basic politicking.
They are politicking, and they should politic well. And let me chip in this too. I've watched all of that videos. I've read all of those publications. Something here is very common with the Labour Party and its movements.
What is that?
Violence, arrogance, aggressiveness.
It's interesting.
Some of us have tried to say these things.
That you're saying
because it's not going to lead you anywhere. Violence. What are you seeing? You're asking me violence. What are you seeing on your screen?
Well, you want to compare.
What are you seeing?
You want to compare this violence to others that we've seen in other places. You want to talk about the PDP in Port Harcourt.
Okay.
The violence that was exhibited.
And those PDP and APC that has been in power, yes. And a group of persons said no, these guys are failed. We don't like their style. We're coming with a more refined and decent politics. Look at what you are saying. So you are copying. Are you copying those that you have condemned?
Do you know
that? Copying? These guys should do things differently.
Do you know that a school of thought is of the opinion that the Labour Party was...
Have you gone on social media? You see how this Labour Party...
I beg your pardon.
Youths...
Allow me drop my thoughts.
If the leadership is exhibiting the same...
Can I drop my thoughts, please?
Please.
Do you know that a school of thought is of the opinion that the Labour Party has been infiltrated by those with intentions to scuttle its case in court? And these people perpetrated them, suspended members, all right, Lamidi Apapa, suspended member himself, and the others are only playing to the gallery of those that have indicated interest with them to scuttle the case of the Labour Party in court. That is a school of thought, and that seems to be what is playing out. Don't you agree?
But
There is that
the
possibility,
suspended
right?
person right now is Julius Abure.
Okay,
Lamidi Apapa is now the one to be the chairman.
But don't you agree that there is that play out of some sort of arrangement to scuttle their case in court?
Whether I agree or I
But
don't
do you
agree,
agree?
but
Do
the
you-
point
but do
is,
you agree?
the point is, in
But
politics,
do you agree?
politics,
Do you agree?
I don't have to agree or decide, but the point is that they should expect such. That's what I'm saying. I'll give you an example again. I like giving examples.
Okay.
In the just concluded elections, the governorship elections that took place in Delta State, the ruling party versus the APC, those were the major two parties that contested the election. At a point, the APC seems to be gaining grounds. They were just buying members and party figures from the other part. What did the PDP do? They realized that something was going wrong somewhere. These guys are spending money on our guys, and they are taking over our guys. They went back to have a meeting and opened the treasury and bought over every other person that was bought and bought more. It is politicking. You need to play it well. It's either you are playing politics or you are not playing politics. That opposition parties will lobby your people. It's just natural. That they will bribe your people. It's just natural. Meanwhile, this is just an allegation. There's no proof yet that that the opposition has infiltrated.
Lamidi
But
Apapa on several
even
occasions
at
has said
that,
that is not the case.
okay, for instance, Lamidi Apapa at the time wanted to withdraw their petitions from the court. And I'm sure that those are some of the reasons that the other faction has to believe that Lamidi Apapa and his faction may have been bought. If they have been bought,
In that instance, he was acting as an individual,
yes, that is what I'm saying.
not as a representative of the party.
No. Other ways. All you need to do as a political party, because first of all, you have to understand this party also has a case before the tribunal. This party is challenging the outcome of the just concluded presidential election. So you need to reduce your burdens. You need to know exactly which of your challenges to tackle. These other inter-party issues can be resolved in one meeting.
All right, so let's look at this scenario.
Can be resolved in one meeting.
Let's look at this picture. The Labour Party, Peter Obi, two different entities. Can Peter Obi proceed with his case in court without the Labour Party?
Labour, depending on how you look at it, Labour Party, Peter Obi, two different entities. Two different entities that will always meet in a particular end. Is the presidential candidate of the Labour Party. The Labour Party provided him the platform to contest there. So you cannot really, the difference between two of them is different between 6 and half a dozen.
But apparently, he has his own petition. So even if, for example, like Lamidi Apapa was saying, for a recall of the petition already in court, somehow there have been statements by him and Arabambi, who is the publicity secretary, that they are not in dispute, all right, with the inauguration of May 29, so long as any case proven is proven. But you can actually hear some statements that doesn't rankle with or go well with the Labour Party, and you claim that you're in the Labour Party. So the question is right now, if Lamidi Apapa, who is now the chairman, based on what the court verdict said for now, decides to recall the case at the Election Petition Tribunal, can Peter Obi proceed?
He can, and that is why I kept saying that they need to play politics to resolve all of these issues. If they resolve all of these issues, in the next 1 minute, they are won.
But if Peter Obi proceeds with the case without the Labour Party, at a certain point while the proceeding is ongoing, the opposition could actually use that against him.
It could proceed in the sense that Peter Obi, as the presidential candidate, has filed a petition. Then Labour Party, as a party too. If you look at their petitions too, they petitioned INEC, petitioned APC, and petitioned Bola Ahmed Tinubu himself.
Yes.
So Peter Obi can proceed, but it's always safer. I don't know if his lawyers are advising him very well to put your house in order first. Make sure that you are going into the tribunal as one entity and as an entity that is in cooperation. You need to cooperate with yourself. You need to plan. Whoever that is aggrieved today can be called to order. It's simply politics. It's simply politics, nothing more. And the moment they play politics, they'll be fine.
Now, with what is currently ongoing, is it possible that when it's time for witnesses to actually give testimony, is it possible that some of these witnesses could have been bought over, considering the fact that there is already a fracture within the party?
That, you see, with politicians, you don't roll out any options. In politics, anything, everything is possible. And that is why politics is for the extremely smart people. And that is why politics is not, that is why you don't have, there's no particular prerequisites to make you a politician, that you must have a BSc or you must have a PhD. All you need to do is to be politically smart. And the Labour Party, I kept saying, and these are my free $1 million advice to them. They need to understand that they are into the game of politics, and they need to politic maximally. They should politic very well. Put those set of members that because it's not even the best to suspend them. It's not the best to suspend at this point. Look at what happened to PDP. Who would have thought that PDP would not have suspended in Wiki? After all what transpired, they didn't suspend because it's still useful. So even those you think that are not good enough, they still have their nuisance value. So reconcile them, use them to achieve what you want. The same way they want to use the party, because that is the truth. Peter Obi was not in Labour Party yesterday. He wants to use the party to achieve what he wants. Every other person, to not only him, every other person wants to use the party to achieve what they want. So the party will also use them to achieve what the party wants to. That is the game of politics.
Interesting.
Yes.
But what does this actually say for the case of the Labour Party? Because if eventually things do not turn out the way everyone wants it to, like you said, it is important for Peter Obi to address this as soon as possible. But what does this actually say for the Labour Party's authenticity? That is the authentication of whatever it is that they have written down at the Election Petition Tribunal in terms of how the court process continues.
Well, we are hoping that the judges will not actually bother themselves with some of these party-related issues. We are hoping that the judges will focus precisely on the petitions and evidences before them and allow the parties to settle their differences. But that is not to say too that these parties cannot put their house in order to avoid coming to the court to disturb court process, because that is not what the judges are interested in. We are hoping that the judges will not allow that to distract them. But at the same time too, I think why they are getting themselves distracted, their oppositions are getting stronger, because they will sit down somewhere and be planning with their lawyers. Why are you getting yourself distracted?
Apparently, as we coast home now, I'm going to take a few things that you've said and, try to wrap them together. You did say that the politicking, practicing politics is, trying to convince people, buying them over.
Carrying everybody along.
Carrying them along. The Labour Party may not have the financial wherewithal to do all of that. Does that mean they are, because they don't have the money to throw around, does that mean they are less of a political party?
I don't even think they don't have the money to throw around. One thing is to have the money. One thing is to have the mindset to spend the money. Some people believe that you don't need to spend money to win elections. Some people believe that you don't need to spend money to gather the people. And that is fine. But in reality, elections, we just did elections. And I was an observer. I went around the place. Money must be spent. The Constitution says, for instance, that you must have offices in each of the local governments all over the nation. Nigeria has 774 local governments. So that takes billions. The Constitution went for that to say you must also have party agent in all the polling units. So there's no how you can separate money from, even in the almighty America and Europe and the rest of them. Politics takes money. So you must spend money. And we're talking about a country like ours where so many of the people are poor. Do you know why people sell their votes? Because they are poor. They are poor in the pocket. They are poor in the mind.
That doesn't make it right anyway.
No, it's not right, but it's the reality.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Murphy Abadoni, legal practitioner. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you so much.
Coming up next is President-elect Bola Tinubu rejecting a request to broadcast the tribunal's sitting live. And many seem to be asking, what is there to hide, really? But we do have someone joining us virtually. We have Great Emo joining us virtually. All right. Well, is Great in with us now? All right. Good morning.
Yes.
Great.
Good morning.
All right. So we're just establishing communication with you. We'll go on a quick break and then we'll be back. Well, President-elect Bola Tinubu and the Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima have described the application by Atiku Abubakar and the People's Democratic Party for a live broadcast of electoral petition proceedings as an abuse of the process of the Honorable Court. Now, they urged the Presidential Election Petition Court to dismiss the application, arguing that the relief sought by the applicants is not such that the court could grant it. Now, in their response to the application, they said, with much respect to the petitioners, the motion is an abuse of the process of this honorable court. And they further said the request of Atiku Abubakar and his party should not be granted because the court is not a rostrum or a soapbox. It is not also a stadium or a theater. It is not an arena for public entertainment. Now, those were their words. Now, Tinubu Achetima responded through their team of lawyers led by Chief Wale Olanikbekun. They stated in the counter affidavit that the application relates to policy formulation of the court, which is outside the PEPC's jurisdiction as constituted. Now, let's quote their response here. The application also touches on the powers and jurisdiction invested in the President of the Court of Appeal by the Constitution, over which this honorable court, as presently constituted, cannot entertain. The application touches on the administrative functions, which are exclusively reserved for the President of the Court of Appeal. The application is aimed at dissipating the precious judicial time of this honorable court. Now, the said application does not have any bearing with the petition filed by the petitioners before this honorable court. It is in the interest of justice for this honorable court to dismiss the said application filed by the petitioners. Well, end quotes there, end quote. Well, that much should fill a teacup for this morning. So let's serve you out a few questions. Joining us virtually, we have Ayodele, Adewale, and Great Imo. And with us in the studio, we still have legal practitioner Murphy Abadani.
Adewale is the state organizing secretary of the APC in Lagos. Thank you for joining us this morning.
My pleasure. My pleasure. My pleasure.
All right. So let's proceed.
Well, we also do have Barrister Eze Eluche with us. So we have a full house. Good morning, Barrister Eze.
Yeah, good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank
Good morning.
you. Just wanted to confirm.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me for this time. The image is very blurry.
Oh, really?
We'll make do with your audio.
Okay.
Let's go ahead.
Okay.
So apparently, the All Progressives Congress, the representatives of the Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Kashim Shettima are saying that there should be no live broadcast of the Election Petition Tribunal, stating that the court is not a theater, neither is it a soapbox, and that they want a situation where the process would not cause any distraction. That is, if there is a live coverage of it, there could be distractions. What's your take on that?
Who are you asking the question?
Yes. Eze Eluche, Barrister Eze Eluche, I'm asking you the question.
Yes. Okay, the question was, well, yes. I mean, I thought it was for somebody else, but can you please repeat the question again, please?
Okay, so yesterday, President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu of the All Progressives Congress and the Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima urged the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal to dismiss the application by Atiku Abubakar and the People's Democratic Party for a live broadcast of the proceedings. They actually challenged Tinubu's declaration as the winner of the February 25 elections. And then the question now is, why will the APC not want to work in tandem with the clamor or the call for the live broadcast of the election petition while the process is ongoing? A couple of persons say there's a live broadcast. It could give that sense of transparency and a possibility of neutrality. But the APC is saying that if that takes place, that then, of course, the court is not a theater, neither is it a soapbox, and they do not want the judges to be distracted. What's your take on that? Can you hear us, Eze, Barrister Eze? All right, great, Timo. If you can hear us, please respond to this.
Okay. If I may intervene here,
Okay, please come in.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay. I think what the challenge here is this. Um, I'm not a lawyer, but from a little knowledge of background of law, the law is introduced by saying that there are always two schools of thought, the moralist and the legalist. And that coincidentally, you will get to also understand that the legalists also derive their background from the moralists, because whatever becomes law in the nation were derived from the moral, values and standing before it becomes a law. And for example, if we're doing something and we feel that these actions, every one of us feels is repulsive, but we needed some binding authority to want to make it illegal for someone to act in this manner, we begin to promulgate it as law. So everything that become a law in the society derives from its morality and then becomes a legal issue. But from here now, I don't think there is anything legal, as in the law does not necessarily require, because I don't think there's anything in law that requires for live transmission of tribunal proceedings. But I want to say that sometimes, because it is politics, those who are kicking against it should know that it gives a sense in which many Nigerians feel there is something they are hiding. It is not a legal issue. It is now a moral issue. It may not have any legal implication as it were, but even a government needs a moral authority to govern. When a government, people have a perception in which they think that a government is such a government that is derived from trickery, from scheming, it derived from manipulation, from hiding, it undermines its presence, it undermines the government. Yeah, you can have power. Sometimes you can have it, you can be sitting there, but you require a moral authority. You require what they call a politerate mobilization. So it is not just about if we broadcast or we don't broadcast. What I think that was focused on was many Nigerians want to have the opportunity from the comfort of their offices and home to be able to know what is going on there, so that they are not misinformed by middlemen. But all the same, there's no way whatever that goes on in that court will not also get to the hearing or to the ears of Nigerians. But I think what was being asked for was more of a moral issue than a legal issue. So the tribunal did reserve the right to say, okay, we will accept. And also, the APC reserve the right to enter into this kind of argument. But what they should not fail to understand, that it may not be a legal issue, but it's a moral issue. Because when you want to govern a people, you need to carry them along. In fact, I keep saying that the failure of Buhari's administration is the failure to mobilize the people. Buhari governed Nigeria as a colonial master, and as though he's detached from the people, there was no sentiment and emotions of the people attached to his governance. So Buhari was always dealing with Nigerians as strangers because he lost them. Hence, Buhari could not mobilize Nigerians to understand, to follow, to pursue his vision, even where he have one.
All right, okay.
And without that many. Anyway.
All right, then, great.
So that project mobilization is key to success in government and governance. And now
all right, great email. You're very, very passionate. I can see that. I can see that. But my next question goes to Ayodele Adewale, Honorable. Yes, can I call him that?
Yes.
Honorable Ayodele Adewale. Are you with us? Now, I want to ask. Okay.
All right.
How do you think that the presence of cameras, television cameras in the courtroom will be a distraction to judges who are sitting on the case? Do you think it will be a distraction?
Well, I feel very much so. Looking at what just happened yesterday, where the Labour Party had an imbroglio in the courtroom. This incident is enough to distract not only the judge, but everyone that is watching that proceeding. And it also gives room for rumor outlets to peddle rumors about issues, put out fake news, and all of that. In higher climes of the world, America for instance, where such matter happens, or in the UK, what you see thereafter or during the process is just a sketch, a drawing of what is happening, and the reporter reports what they've been able to get as news in the courtroom. But again, I would not want to talk much about this issue because it can amount to sub judice since the matter is in court.
Now, in as much
the
as
case is before the judge.
in as much as we are not trying to preempt the court, but don't you think when Nigerians get to follow the case as it is happening in the courtroom, wouldn't that prevent rumors as against reporters just going there and writing based on what they experienced in the courtroom? Don't you think that is why the PDP is asking for a live broadcast? So there will be no hearsay. Everybody will follow the process, and then it will be transparent. Now this, in the spirit of transparency, actually.
I don't feel so. For instance, your platform is a very objective platform that will not engage in such peddling of fake news before the Nigerian people and before the world. I think so. I do believe that if you want to be objective, every right-thinking Nigerian must, take excerpts from platforms like yours, mainstream platforms, to get true account of what had happened. But again, it's a question of our constitution. Does our constitution provide for such? Does it allow for such? And that's why I said earlier that I would not want to talk more about this matter.
Okay.
Because it's before the court. Don't let us preempt the court.
Okay.
All right. No,
There'll be a ruling on the matter.
No, we're not talking about the fact, we're not trying to preempt anything. We're just trying to look at the scenario whereby the People's Democratic Party is saying because of the dichotomy or the conflict of interest at the just concluded elections, a couple of people feel their mandate was stolen. The PDP feel, oh, I was supposed to win these elections. The Labour Party feel, oh, I was supposed to win this election. Now the case is at the Election Petition Tribunal. Nigerians were wholly involved. This is one of the elections where there was real participation. Like we had more participation compared to, possibly other elections that may have been conducted. And so while the case is already at the Election Petition Tribunal, a couple of persons feel we want to be part of the process. We want to see what is taking place in court. We want to be able to follow through. And then the APC is saying, no. All right, we are not entertainers. It is not a theater. We will not allow, that should not be allowed. And saying that the court should strike out that particular petition of the PDP, saying they consider it to be frivolous. So the question is, why that dispute? Why precisely say no? What if the APC did not win? Wouldn't they have actually been the one to say, oh, we want this live broadcast, we want that sense of transparency?
Picking from your narrative, with what you have quoted the PDP to have said,
yes,
it simply means that the PDP do not have belief in that court. If they have belief in that court, no matter what the issues are, they will stick to their evidence and stick to their presentation, rather than try to create distraction. Like the APC has said, it is not a theater, it is a court. And we are all going there to present our case in the best manner possible, with backed up evidence. But again, it's a constitutional matter. Do we have provision in our constitution that back that Every proceedings of court must be televised or streamed, as the case may be. But the matter is before the judge. Let us wait for the ruling of court. Then we all know what the issues will be.
All right. This next question is to you, Murphy. You're a legal practitioner here. Okay, you can go ahead, barrister. You can go ahead.
Okay, I just listened. The last speaker, let me pick up on where he stopped. He said whether it was constitutional. I think it is ridiculous to expect the Constitution to contain everything that will guide every facet of our life. You cannot expect the Constitution to provide for everything. What the Constitution actually provides for is that every court proceedings should be held in public, not in secret. And if you look at that position of public, having it televised, there's nothing absolutely wrong with that. But you cannot expect the Constitution to provide for everything. But generally speaking, with regard to the application by the PDP, I think it was, they are trying to explain to the public in the sense that there are more serious issues that the PDP could have asked for than just to say televising. What are they trying to, what will be the whole essence of televising the whole trial? Is it for the lawyers to grandstand before the public and we are blocked on air when millions of Nigerians understand what's going on televised? The request was not one have other issues. But on the other hand, for the APC to even oppose it, what are they opposed? What are they afraid of? Why couldn't they? What is wrong with televising? And to say that advanced clients, you don't televise this kind of trial, it is very, very false. We all saw the trial of old instances. We saw several other trials. Once a trial has generated publicity, there is absolutely nothing wrong with televising so that the entire society can be part. Now, why I said the PDP was ahead of itself by even making that application is if there was time for any interlocutory or interim application, what should have been applied for is for the court to stop the installation of swearing in of somebody who's so-called victim under the
Barrister Eze, we seem to be missing a couple of your words, and it will be important for us to actually hear what you're saying. So I don't know if you're using your earpiece, maybe it's shifting, I don't know. Sometimes you come in strong, and sometimes it's...
Okay, but are you hearing me very well? Am I very audible now?
Now you're clear, yes, you're audible now. You can proceed.
Okay, now, what I'm trying to do so far is to condemn the PDP for, of all things, applying for televised trial. Okay. Also condemn the APC for saying no to the trial like they have to, right? Because in other clients, when a trial or when a case has garnered public interest, it is the best interest of the public for that trial to be publicized. There is absolutely nothing wrong with the court to publicize, to have it in on television or the TV camera has been there. And then finally, I'm trying to say also, if there is any room for any interlocutory or interim application, what the parties, the PDP and the Labour should be applying for is for an injunction to prevent the swearing in of a character into office when his very candidature is still in doubt. That is what they should be applying for, and not such a frivolous issue as whether it should be televised or not televised.
All right, so you're saying that the PDP should have come up with a stronger case rather than the televising of the election petition.
Yes, televising is immaterial, but the APC is also wrong to resist it being televised. Because let it be for the court to decide. If the court wants it to be televised, okay. But for the APC to say they are against it being televised, what do they have to hide? What are they hiding? And to give the example that in America or wherever that you don't televise trials, it is a falsehood. You do televise trials, particularly when the trial has garnered public interest. And this trial of the case of the Presidential Tribunal, Election Tribunal, is of the public interest, and it should be televised. My grouse with the PDP is that they should have had serious issues to apply an injunction for, and not to ask for trials. Thank you very much.
All right then. So, Murphy Abadani, what's your take on this? Let's have your own take as well.
Thank you very much. I've listened to my colleagues. One thing is clear here. that our laws has no provision for such. It's at the discretion of the courts to have proceedings televised or not. And let me even chip in this for the sake of the last speaker. There cannot be a crime where there is no law. So if you are faulting the APC for kicking against it, the question next will be, which law would they be contravening for kicking against it? PDP, like I think I will agree with him too. Maybe PDP should have gone for better issues and not, because the presidential candidate of the PDP, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, was the vice president here for 8 years. They won elections, people went to court. These issues were not raised, and he benefited strongly from those court processes. Even his vice presidential candidate, Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa, is about concluding his 8 years in office as governor of Delta State. People, oppositions have challenged his elections, and they've all gone to court, and they've lost to him.
But what Barrister Eluche is saying is that this is a case that has garnered a lot of public interest. And in the sake of transparency, the public needs to be carried along.
The court does not deal with that. The first speaker said something about morals and
Great
law.
emo, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Nobody, there's no court, there's no society that will charge you based on morals. You can only be charged based on a known law in that particular environment. So it may sound fine that the court processes should be televised. It may sound fine, it may be the wish of so many people. But the court will decide that, if they want that to happen or not. Then secondly, I don't think it's secret. It's a situation whereby you have all the candidates in court, you have their lawyers, most times sounds, very senior lawyers, very sound and senior lawyers. You have their witnesses, you have party representative and all what may. What again is secret about it? If you televise this, does that make the judge to say A when he intends to say B? If you don't, does that make the judge to say C when he intends to say D? So for me, these are trivial issues. These are not issues that they should actually bother about. And in politics, whatever that will counter the position of your opposition is fine. So even if APC would have nothing to do with it being televised, but for the fact that it's coming from their opposition, they will just kick against it. It's just normal.
All right then. So well, we must say thank you very much to everyone that has joined us today. Thank you very much, Barrister Eze Eluche. Thank you for joining us virtually.
Hello. I've been raising my hand.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Please go. Go ahead. Go ahead, please. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I believe for every discourse, meetings, and all whatnot, there should be a guiding principle on how we contribute our positions or discussions. I don't think we should engage or support people who try to depict their understanding with vulgar words. I have the duty to put out my thought. You can't call with vulgar words and overrule. It's not a good norm and all that. And I'm speaking with regards to the speaker that spoke after me.
All right, let's not attack personalities.
When I mention, I'm not attacking. I'm trying to put the record straight.
Okay.
When I mention that is it embedded in our constitution, I'm very frank with what I've said. And I thank God the last speaker that spoke now also opined a bit on it. Mine is guided by rules. If you have a society without rules, you're going to have a banana republic.
All right.
If the Constitution is silent on it, then moving forward, there should be a discussion along that line to see whether we can embed it in our Constitution. I've also been involved
All right, Honorable Ayodele,
especially as
Honorable Ayodele Adewale, we
so
thank
it is
you very much.
important that you tell some of your guests to be very careful with words, please.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. We do appreciate your contribution on VOP this morning. We do hope that you join us next time again. Would actually appreciate that. All right, Barrister Eze Oluche, thank you so much for being with us. Great email, thank you as well for being with us this morning. I do appreciate that, as well as Murphy Abandoni. Thank you so much for your being part of us this morning. All right, we'll take a short break there, and of course, we'll come back. All right, so this is definitely the final leg of VP this morning. But hey, before we actually put down the curtain here, a media personality, Adeshokwe, or rather Bad Boy Team, said that he was actually shot in the eye by assassins in Mushin at the age of 9. In a chat with Adeshokwe Shopsudu, the media personality team said the incident occurred in Mushin, Lagos. The singer said the assassins targeted his family's car and opened fire. He said the gunshot aimed at his dad's head ended up hitting his eye. I got shot when I was 9 in the nose and it affected my eye. They just overtook us and started shooting. They didn't even tell us to stop, and I got shot in the eye because they were targeting my dad's head and it went straight into my eye. Now, when asked about the state of his injured eye, the singer said he is currently fine, although he is preparing for another operation. Quite an unfortunate incident right there.
Well, that brings to fore the issue of insecurity in the country. Something drastically needs to be done.
That's true. especially for that kind of thing that happened at that time of his age, as early as 9. That must have been,
to anybody.
and that must have been quite traumatic
Of course.
for him to have experienced that.
Of course, it must have been.
Okay, so that's basically what we'll have for you today on entertainment. We've actually run out of time, but hey, we couldn't do that without just giving you the sub side of things on this particular segment. My name is Esther Nwachukwu.
And I'm Moses Humphrey. Do have yourselves a beautiful day.
Remember to like, subscribe, share, follow, okay? I would also love if you do send us your comments on basically most of the conversation we've had on VOP this morning.